Hey guys, it's Brandon here again at Vape Extreme. Gonna do a hardware review, kind of thoughts of what I think about certain stuff. I have numerous amount of mods and regular e-cigs and egos and box mods, and I've gotten to the point where in my vaping style, I guess, I'm kind of a little big on variable voltage mods, and then when it comes to just kind of basic style mods, I like 3.7 volt big battery tube mods with low resistance. That's kind of where I'm at this point. And I'll pretty much vape on anything. You know, whether it's dripping into an atomizer, you know, rocking some Shy Berry in a VV Nova tank, to you know, rocking out in a dual coil cardo tanks. Sorry about that. To even rocking it out in the rebuildable Stardusts. I like to use a lot of different stuff for a couple reasons. I like toys. I've always been a tinkerer of sorts, and vaping's kind of added to that addiction, I guess you could say. So basically, as I go through sites, you know, checking out new and improved or latest and greatest, newer style mods, whatever the deal is, I get excited when I see new stuff. Now, of course, when I first started vaping, you know, it was just a regular e-cig kit. I got to do a review on that. That's the actual smooth kit, but I'll get to that. But I started off with that. After that, I bumped up to, of course, you know, your regular egos. Excuse me. From there, I jumped into mods, which is obviously the next step, right? Now, a lot of people ask, you know, why would you want to vape on something that's that big? It's huge. It doesn't even look like a cigarette. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to vaping, when you smoked cigarettes, you never had the option. You basically took a cigarette out of the pack, lit it up, smoked it, put it out, and you were done, right? Vaping is giving you so many different opportunities and so many different devices and atomizers and mods, and even the regular e-cig kits have gotten to the point where, you know, you can get them in a manual. Acts just like an e-cig, or acts like a normal cigarette. A little bit heavier, but it still acts the same. Performs very well, right? Now you can get them, of course, in different threads. You can get them in either an 808, you can get them in a 510, you can get them in manual, you can get them in automatic. So, you know, there's two choices there. You can get them in larger style batteries, you can get them in a variety of different colors, where with cigarettes, you never had that option. You basically smoked a cigarette, right? So with this, yeah, it works great. A lot of people will buy one of these and use it as a replacement for cigarettes, and this is where they'll stop. Some people will decide that, you know, vaping is something that they would like to continue doing, but they want something that'll last a little bit longer. Well, at that point, of course, you get into the egos, right? The Egos, again, work very well. So basically you're getting into a bigger battery, 3.7 volt e-cig. It's more of a cigar size style, and they perform very well. At that point, you can get into mods, right? You can get into, here's a prime example of a 3.7 volt mod. It's just the Smoke Tech telescope mod. Nice part is it uses a variety of different sizes of batteries. And you know, if you're vaping with a low res 306, for example, like I always keep on this mod, it works well. Now people ask, what's the difference? What's the difference from going from an e-cig style kit to an Ego to a big battery 3.7 volt mod? Well, I don't know all the technical specifications. I'm not into boring people with numbers or anything like that. The way that I see it is this performs okay. This performs even better. This performs better than the other two and lasts a lot longer. So you could literally take this all day and vape it all day, and then vape it all the next day, and then probably vape it all the day after that. This is it's got an 18650 in it, so it'll last you a damn good long time. So with that being said, the biggest difference is in performance, flavor, throat hit, and vapor production. Now, of course, from there we get into variable voltage mods. So the first variable voltage mod I ever purchased was an Evo. This isn't the original Evo that I purchased, because the original one blew up because it was a B1. This is the B2, and I've had this for months now, and it works fantastic. Why go to variable voltage? Well, there's a reason for it. Variable voltage will allow you to increase the voltage depending on the resistance of the atomizer that you're using, right? Most people know that. Newer vapors do not. Now, of course, when it comes to resistance, there's a very simple explanation. Lower resistance, lower the voltage, right? So if you're vaping at, let's say you're using anywhere from a 1.2 ohm to a 2.5 ohm resisted atomizer, you want to be vaping anywhere from 3 volts to basically 4.2 volts. When you get into higher resisted atomizer, you want to get into higher voltages. Now, the difference being is that when you get into higher resisted atomizer with higher voltage, you tend to get a little bit better flavor, much better vapor, and a much better throat hit. So that being said, now we'll go to the variable voltage. This being the Evo, we're basically vaping this at 4 volts. Now, if we up the voltage to 4.5 volts, as you can tell, the vapor got a lot thicker. The flavor a little bit more intense, but because I'm using a low-res 306, or sorry, 510, it was almost getting a little bit burnt-ish on that aspect on it, but the throat hit's fantastic. I'm not going to vape it on the next setting, but we press it again, and then we get into the red setting, which is a 5 volt setting, and I won't vape it because it's too high for a low-res atomizer. But the biggest difference being is the higher the voltage, higher resistance, better throat hit, warmer vapor, better vapor production, better throat hit, better flavor. So as long as we're all on the same page. So that's a basic variable voltage unit. So you've got 3 different settings. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. The Evo has 4 different settings. Because if you put in a 16, no, I can't remember what size the battery is, but if you put a different battery in this, a larger single battery, it'll give you the Ego mode, which is 3.7 volts, which I've never actually used this in. But yeah, so you've basically got 4 settings on the Evo. Now, that being said, I know I'm going to rant and rave on this, but I just figured it was something that I wanted to do myself. So from that point, we get into higher end variable voltage mods, okay? Basically, I had gone from an Evo, I had a lava tube, which, I don't know, they work okay. I guess aesthetically I don't like the way they look. I don't like the buttons on them. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I wasn't a really big fan of the lava tube. I liked the fact that it was a variable voltage and it went from 3 volts to 6 volts, but I just didn't like the way it looked. So from there, I bought a Provari. Everybody's pretty much familiar with the Provari if you've been vaping for a certain period of time. For those that don't know, it's basically a higher end variable voltage mod with a menu in it. So basically, if you can see that, you got power up, power down, power on and off, power on, crap, I can get through it fast enough. So you got power up, power down, power on and off. You can check the battery voltage. You can check the resistance of the atomizer. I missed it again. And then of course you can turn the actual LED on or off at the back there, which isn't really that big of a deal. Now, with the Provari being within the $200 range, again, guys, keep in mind Canadian review. So it's in the $200 range, and it gives you a lot more options. It'll tell you what your resistance is to give you a rough idea of where you should be vaping it voltage-wise. The regular size uses an 18490 battery. And this is basically what I've got here. You can also get an extension cap on it to bring it up to an 18650 if you want. But the biggest question is why would you spend $200 on basically an e-cig? Well, it's the same idea as comparing a Chevette to a Ferrari. There's some pretty substantial differences. There's a lot of similarities. You know, they're both painted, they both have engines, they both have 4 tires, and they both seat passengers, and you can drive it, right? But put a Chevette and a Ferrari on a, racetrack, who's going to win, right? So it's in the performance. It's the way that the actual unit performs. So being able to fine-tune your voltage to your atomizer and to your juice makes your vaping experience that much better. And why do you want to improve it? Well, for me, I would rather have a decent vaping experience than smoke a cigarette, right? Cigarettes are in the past. So now that we've gone through, the regular e-cig up to a Provari with a variable voltage, now we've got this new thing out. Well, I guess it's not new, but it's starting to get more popular, is variable wattage. Now, the Z-Max is a prime example of an inexpensive variable wattage unit that you can use. Very nice unit. Actually, I just got this in today, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's going to replace my ProVary for a couple reasons. It covers everything that the ProVary does, and then some. Because not only can I turn this into a variable wattage, but if I want, I can also switch it back to a variable voltage. The nice part about the variable wattage setting, as I get a little closer to the camera, once I set the wattage of what I want to vape at, so let's just say, for example, whoops, still getting used to the menu on this. So right now I'm vaping this at 8 watts. And I am vaping a low-res 510 Addy, which as you can see is at around 2 ohms. And it vapes fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is I'll take that low-res off, and the same high-res one that I had on my ProVary, I will now throw it on. So as you can see, this is a 3.7 ohm resisted atomizer. Let's vape it. Basically what it does is whatever your wattage setting is that you prefer to vape at, and it goes, I believe, from 3 watts to 15 watts in 0.5 increments. But once you find the wattage that you want to vape at, no matter what you put on the top of this, it automatically adjusts the voltage to match what you're vaping at. So if you put a low resisted, it'll drop the voltage down. If you put on a high resisted, it'll bring the voltage up, so that you're vaping within the same style. So you don't have to fine tune it every time that you change. I vape high res and low res atomizers. I vape dual coil Cardo tanks. I vape VV Nova tanks. And these come in a variety of different resistance, and plus you can rebuild them to make them whatever resistance you want. I vape Stardusts that are rebuildable as well. I vape on Ego tanks sorry, I shouldn't say that. I vape Ego tanks from Electrovape. They're the only Ego tanks that I use now. Dual coil atomizers, I vape those. Regular 510 tank addies, again only from Electrovapes for personal reasons, because they work well. And what else do I vape on? Yeah, you get the general idea. Because of the fact that the SmokeTech Z-Max, now there's a V-Max and a Z-Max. If I'm going to make any recommendation whatsoever, the Z-Max, which is the newer version of the V-Max, get it. I got mine from canvapes.com. I got mine on sale, but I think on the site they're selling for around $100 for the actual, they classify it as a kit, but it's not really a kit. Basically what you get is the mod itself with the battery cap for an 18650, and it comes in, it basically comes in your, comes in your regular SmokeTech white box with your nice little foam inserts, and then at the bottom you get an instruction manual which tells you all the modes and your settings, and a brief explanation on how everything works. But you also get, once I get this all back in, I've actually put this other part in my kit. You also get the extension cap if you wanted to use two 18350 batteries. Just in case you have other variable voltage units, like I had the cheap version of the lava tube, which uses two 18350s. I've got the variable voltage system. It also uses the 18. Whoops. It uses the 18350s as well. So it gives you the option of being able to change from battery to battery. I haven't really been able to test between the 18350s and the 18650s, but because it uses a pulse width modulation circuitry in it, there shouldn't be any differences in vaping performance between the 18650 and the 18350s. So yeah. The Provari is a very nice mod. ProVape, you guys did a fantastic job on it. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to bring it up to the new times and get into the variable wattage, and make sure when you're buying mods, please battery safety. I generally use the AW IMR batteries because they're chemically safe, so on and so forth. Don't buy cheap Chinese batteries, guys. It's not a good idea. So yeah, guys, kind of a rant and rave from start to finish from my vaping experience. So yeah, that's what I got for you today. As always, let's keep on vaping.